This video is brought to you by Skillshare. Kids, back in the fall of 2005, the television show How I Met Your Mother premiered on CBS. The simple idea of following 20-year-olds as they traverse friendships, romance, careers, and all the highs and lows of adulthood perfectly filled the gap left vacant by Friends, which went off the air the previous year in 2004. And the complex story structure of nonlinear plot lines told by an unreliable narrator pushed the creative capabilities of sitcoms. This type of storytelling that rewarded the audience for paying close attention was influenced by the fanfare of Lost, which premiered just a year earlier. But How I Met Your Mother's creative quality stumbled on the way to its inevitable conclusion, and that's what I want to talk to you about. So sit back, and I'll tell you the story about the day How I Met Your Mother died. How I Met Your Mother was the brainchild of Carter Bays and Craig Thomas, and is loosely based on their postgraduate lives in New York City, when Carter Bays was single and looking for love, while his best friend Craig was already married to the girl he met his freshman year in college. The idea wasn't groundbreaking by any means, but it was perfect for a network that was looking to attract younger viewers. However, having the show's protagonist narrate the story of how he met his wife from the future was a unique premise. The entire show was then constructed around the mystery of Ted Mosby's wife. With each girl that came into Ted's life, the audience was held in suspense, and with each clue and slight glimpse from the narrator, the anticipation only grew more intense. Marshall, Lily, Robin, and Barney had their own engaging storylines and character growth throughout the run of the show, but the main foundation of How I Met Your Mother in its 9 seasons was building towards this moment of Ted meeting his wife. And that moment finally happened on March 31st, 2014, in the show's series finale, Last Forever. And it's in that 2-part finale that I believe How I Met Your Mother died. It wasn't the much anticipated meeting between Ted and Tracy that killed the show.
Excuse me. Hi.
Hi.
I'm
the best man. Yeah, get in here, get in here, get in here.
Thanks. Here, let me.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
On the contrary, I think actress Kristen Milioti, along with the creative staff of the show, did a wonderful job in crafting the character of Tracy. She was lovable, sweet, intellectual, and extremely charming. And the actual scene of their first meeting played really well. The dialogue was funny and playful, and the chemistry between the two characters felt so electric and natural.
Funny how sometimes you just find things.
It was a beautiful moment, 9 seasons in the making. And just for a moment, it seemed like Bays and Thomas, along with the rest of the creative staff, successfully stuck the landing. But unfortunately, the episode continued on for 2.5 more minutes. And it's in those 2.5 minutes that the entire show was undone.
And that, kids, is How I Met Your Mother.
Once Ted is finally done telling the story about how he met his wife, his children go on to convince him that his story wasn't really about how he loved Tracy, it was about how he actually loved Robin all along.
You made us sit down and listen to the story about how you met Mom, yet Mom is hardly in the story. This is a story about how you're totally in love with Aunt Robin.
And that's how the entire series ended. The ending was almost universally hated by the fanbase. USA Today, Digital Spy, and BuzzFeed ranked it as the worst series finale of all time, while other online publications like Rolling Stone, TV Guide, Business Insider, Ranker, and Entertainment Weekly have it on their list of the worst series finales of all time. And I believe the largest reason the ending didn't work is because Bays and Thomas wrote themselves into a creative corner that they refused to get out of. Wanting the son and the daughter to be in the series finale, Bays and Thomas wrote and shot the final scene 7 years prior, during production of season 2. That way the children would still look the same age throughout. At the time they wrote and shot that scene, Ted and Robin were still dating in the storyline, and a majority of the audience, and clearly the creators, were hoping that they would end up together in the end. That's because up until that point, the mother was just an idea, or a plot point, instead of a personified character. But once she finally appeared in the flesh, and Ted and Robin's romance naturally drifted apart over the years, the audience's desires and expectations shifted. That's the problem with having the ending planned out so far in advance. It suffocates growth that comes organically from the characters and the larger story. James Poniewozik over at Time Magazine put it perfectly in his review of How I Met Your Mother's series finale. It is not necessarily the ideal thing to have it all planned out from the beginning. Not if that plan is so rigid and locked in, say with lines of ending dialogue recorded years in advance, that they can't allow for organic growth and surprise. Stories change over 9 years. Characters do, and people did over the course of How I Met Your Mother, only to be wrenched back over the course of an hour because that was the plan. A television show is a living organism, and when a show is allowed to grow organically over the course of its life, it can go off in directions that are far more dynamic and interesting than the creators could have initially imagined. It feels more natural to the story as opposed to forcing a story in a certain way just because that's what was envisioned years prior. I can't help but think of Jesse Pinkman's character from Breaking Bad and Andy Dwyer's character from Parks and Recreation. Two characters that were supposed to be written off in their respective shows in the first season, but once the characters came to life via the actors' performances and the chemistry was tangible on the screen, the creators decided to rework the characters and the entire story. I didn't know how damn good Aaron Paul was when I hired him. It became pretty clear early on that it would be a huge colossal mistake to kill off Jesse. You're kind of feeling your way through it when you're writing a show. Very often is the case, not just this show. And you're feeling your way through it, and so many of the ideas come from these wonderful actors themselves. You learn their strengths. You learn all the things they can do that you didn't know they could do. He was not supposed to be a series regular, but we just thought he was fantastic, so we hired him for that role and started rewriting that character so he wasn't such a bad guy. That was another example of changing the characters from what you initially conceived of them to try to take advantage of something good that fell into your lap. In those two instances, the creators allowed the organic growth of the show to lead the way of the story, instead of forcing the show to go in a planned direction. And that was the biggest mistake the creators made in the series finale of How I Met Your Mother. Throughout the final seasons of How I Met Your Mother, Barney Stinson undergoes a major character change. He begins to let go of his womanizing ways and opens up to the vulnerability of loving someone else and being loved in return, as he and Robin prepare to be wed. The entire last season and a half is building to their eventual wedding, but in the final episode, they abruptly divorce within the first 15 minutes, and Barney returns to his womanizing ways, completely undoing Barney's character arc and the natural trajectory of the story. Throughout the entire run of the series, the creators made it clear time and time again, in interviews and even in the storyline of the show itself, that Ted and Robin are not right for each other. The audience was told to root for Robin and Barney, and Ted and Tracy. And to the writer's credit, I did. And that's because the audience was able to grow and move with the natural direction of the show, allowing us to attach ourselves to these characters and their relationships. The creators, along with the actress Kristen Milioti, had the impossible task of creating a character that could meet the expectations built up over 9 seasons. But again, to their credit, they succeeded. The character of Tracy McConnell was far better than I could have ever imagined. Her character had some of the best moments in the final season, and in a season riddled with mediocre episodes, she was a big reason why I continued watching until the end. But because of an ending that was already written 7 years prior, Tracy's character was reduced to a cheap plot device, and an obstacle that needed to be overcome so that way Ted and Robin could be forced back together in the final seconds. And in that moment, the creators betrayed the audience and the entire concept of the show. There was zero motivation for Ted and Robin to even get back together. In the final episode, Robin makes an offhand comment about how Ted is the man she probably should have ended up with, but all those emotions seem to stem from jealousy as opposed to genuine love and affection. The entire romance at the very end was forced and just didn't work. Well aware of the backlash from fans, Bays and Thomas recut an alternate ending for the Season 9 DVD, and I believe that ending vastly improves on the televised version. In it, the narrator recounts the large moments in his life that led him to that train platform in Farhampton, where he finally met his wife. Not only does it quickly and effectively remind the audience about the long 9-season journey to that point, but it also reminds us what the show at its core is all about.
And that, kids, is How I Met Your Mother.
This video is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of videos spanning art, business, technology, and much, much more. A premium membership gives you unlimited access to high-quality classes from experts working in their fields. For example, I started taking Basics of Photoshop 2013 Fundamentals for Beginners by Meg Lewis, which is a perfect introduction for someone like me who knows absolutely nothing about Photoshop. There are step-by-step instructions with design projects to work through together, and I'm always able to go at my own comfortable pace. What's great about Skillshare is that it's more affordable than most learning platforms out there, with an annual subscription costing less than $10 a month. As a sponsor of this video, Skillshare will give the first 500 people to use the promo link in the description below their first 2 months for free. So sign up now and start taking the classes and learning the skills that will help take your dream to the next level. Thanks everyone for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it, share it with a friend, and leave me a comment below. Tell me when you think How I Met Your Mother died, or if you think it was great all the way through. If you didn't notice, I finally have a mic stand, And like I said in the sponsor plug earlier, I'm starting to buy new editing software. All of this is just to make Entertain the Elk better and to improve the videos for you, the viewer. But all this equipment wouldn't be possible without the support of my patrons. So if you're able, please consider becoming a patron of Entertain the Elk. Click the Patreon box below or click the link in the description below and go check out the site and see if you'd be interested in becoming a patron. Thanks everyone so much again, and I'll see you all next time.